Hey, what's up? I had this question asked to me 3 times. The first time I didn't think much of it. I just helped them. I had this question asked the second time. I thought, this is interesting. I had this question asked the third time, and I said, I have to just make a guide for this. So, this is basically a full guide on how to migrate your website from wherever it is to a Claude Code custom website. And the reason that is valuable is because that's going to let you basically have a blog or a marketing brochure website on steroids. And now you don't need someone technical to manage this for you. You're going to be able to put someone, someone in marketing, someone in sales that has the voice of the customer that's going to be able to make edits to your website. And I think that's the most valuable thing because those are the people that know how to sell your product. Those are the people that know how to convey the voice of the customer. And that's what you're going to get out of this video is basically how to move your website over so that you can use the power of AI to edit your website. So let's get into it. And it doesn't matter if your website is on WordPress, Webflow, or Framer, but we're going to start with the example of Webflow, and I'm going to walk you through this example. It applies to any website. So first, I'm going to go through my website, Postbeam. And I've got it here on Webflow. I've already migrated it, but I'm just going to walk through the process again and just repeat the steps I took. So you can see this is what the website looks like. Now, first, I'm going to give you 2 examples of this is going to affect how we start. If this first section doesn't apply to you, then you can go ahead and skip to the next part of the video where I get past Cloudflare. So I've migrated a few sites already. And one example I want to give is Hoppier.com. We've got a lot of blogs on this page. So this scenario, I didn't want to move the whole website over because that would be an absolute pain. I still haven't found a good CMS to manage that fully yet, but I'm migrating some pages over. So if you just want to migrate the blog over, for example, or just some blog pages to be able to test this out and test the waters first, I highly recommend you're going to follow this Cloudflare step. And I'm going to show you the steps. For Postbeam, we fully moved it over. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Cloudflare, create an account. They have a really generous free plan. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. The sign up will take you through some onboarding. And what you're going to do is you're going to find add here. And it's probably going to take you through this when you set up on the onboarding. And you're just going to connect a domain. Now, I'll preface this with you, for this whole guide, you have to have, at least some curiosity or technical patience because it might be a little bit of a pain to go to your DNS and just make sure that you've got access to your DNS for this step. So you either need access to Namecheap or GoDaddy, wherever you bought your domain, that is where your DNS provider is. So I'm going to go in this case and I'm going to put it in postbeam.ai. It's going to import that automatically. So here's a nice thing. It's going to take you through. I'm just going to go through the free plan and I'm going to get it connected on to Cloudflare. So I'm going to go ahead and say everything looks good here. I'll continue to activation. Cool. So it's going to give you these instructions to copy these name servers in. So you're going to make sure you go into, if you're Namecheap, you're going to go in and double check that you're changing the name servers. It can be a little bit confusing, but whatever your domain name provider is, they give really good they give really good instructions. You can follow those and update your domain name servers. And basically what Cloudflare is going to let you do is it's going to let you redirect traffic. So that way, really important step, instead of having blog.hoppier.com or blog.postbeam.ai, this is very important for Google because they want to save on their Google crawl budget, is it's going to let you redirect the traffic. And this is especially valuable if you're only moving half the blog over. So for example, if I want to only move over a few blog pages, I could have, for example, I could still have everything on Webflow for my main blog, and then I could have my new blog pages going forward. They're going to have this proxy, which is going to let you control with Cloudflare to say, hey, everything that goes to Hoppier.com or everything that goes to postbeam.ai or whatever my website is, I'm going to send half the traffic under this folder, whatever, /blog, to this server, and I'm going to send the other half to this server. So it just lets you be really flexible and keep everything on the same domain, which is going to be very important for SEO. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to go down into proxies here, or sorry, rules, and I'll go overview. And here I'm gonna share this in the official guide, but what you want to do is basically create a rule, and it's going to depend a lot on what your settings are and how you want to redirect traffic. But I'm just going to go ahead and copy that from Claude. You can even have Claude just write your exact rule and just tell it exactly what you want. So I'm going to go ahead. Hey, I want a Cloudflare rule to redirect my blog traffic to this Versal website and the Versal server, and I want half my traffic to go still to my Webflow server. Can you please write me a rule? I'll share some examples of what that rule will look like in the PDF. But basically, once you have your rule and you have your domain name set up, you're going to start seeing where, for example, I'll give this example. If I go to hopper.com/blog, this is now redirecting to a specific Versal hosted page. So that's step one. Set up your proxy on Webflow. I'll share the exact code snippet that you can set up, but it's really going to depend on your setup. So you're going to want to customize those rule instructions. But that's step one, is Cloudflare. That's if you want to keep your old blog the same way it was and you only want to move over part of the pages. Highly recommend that Cloudflare page step. Again, you could have skipped this if you're just going to move the whole page over. So if you're here, we're going to move the whole page over, or you already covered the Cloudflare step. So next step, if you've never used GitHub, you're going to go to GitHub and you're going to create an account. If you've never used GitHub, bear with me. It's just a website to use Git. Git is just a really good version control, or the gold standard of version control of the main. Ahead and create a new repository. And basically the point of using GitHub is it's like, imagine if you're using Google Docs and that's your kind of way to use version control, because you have multiple people editing files and multiple people saving files, or even just yourself, you want a history of changes and you want to make sure you don't override those files. That's why you want to have something like GitHub. And the reason why you can't just edit code on a Google Doc is because there's a lot of complexities when you write a programming file, and this way it makes sure everything merges in properly and everyone can test their changes in, and you can control what goes in and out. So I'll share this GitHub repository too as an example template. But basically what I'm going to recommend is you're going to create this as a Next.js repository. For now, it's just going to be empty. I'll include a README, whatever. I'll probably just include the boilerplate Next.js repo too. So you want to just go and select Next.js for this stuff, no license. Now, if you don't want your website to be, the code to be public, you're going to have to select private. I do think GitHub has a very generous free plan, so you can create private repos, but you should only be creating a public repo if you want everyone to see the code of your website, which you should probably just default to private. It's not like people can inspect Element and see your code anyway, so it's not a big deal. But I would recommend that for your brochure marketing website, choose private. Now I'm going to go to clone. I'm going to copy this. Okay, and that is my GitHub repo. So next step, I'm going to recommend Claude Code. Of course, you can use Codex, or if you've used AI programming, you can use whatever you like. I highly recommend Claude Code because I think it's very easy to use. So I'm going to go over to Claude Code website, and I'll share some more detailed instructions on the PDF. But you're going to want to install this on your terminal. So you're just going to click copy, and terminal. It's terminal on Mac. It's console on Windows. So what you're going to do is I'm going to open up a new one here. Cool. and I'm just gonna paste that in. Oops, sorry, not the GitHub command. I'm going to paste in the Cloud Code install. If you already got Cloud Code installed, awesome. You're ahead. You probably don't even need an explanation on GitHub, and hopefully this is gonna be easy peasy for you. So you've got Cloud Code installed already, and there's a bunch of guides on that. So if you're having trouble for whatever reason, you can Google a guide on that, how to install Cloud Code. But if you got it installed, I'll be able to pull this up, and I can run Claude, and I can see it here, right? Perfect. Okay, cool. So now I would normally, you know what, I'll make sure I create a folder. So you can just do this in whatever folder structure you're doing, but I really suggest creating something like GitHub work folder, just so that way, that way you have all your files in one place. And I'm doing this on the terminal, but you really don't have to do this on the terminal. I'm just doing this just for the sake of quickness. So that way your Cloud Code is only going to be running on your only going to be running in that folder, because Cloud Code can do a lot of stuff, so you don't want it running everywhere. You could also do this in Cloud Cowork too. So if you do just prefer the Cloud Cowork interface, this can be really useful, and it can launch Cloud Code. So basically the next thing is I'm going to do here, now that I got Cloud Code installed, I'm going to tell it to clone this repo. Okay, and that's basically going to make sure I have the version control set up on my computer. I can go ahead and do this on Cloud Cowork or Cloud Code. So again, if you can install Cloud Cowork, or you can install Cloud Code if you like doing it in the terminal. But all I'm going to say is you could copy this in the terminal as well, and it'll just install directly. But it's as simple as you can just say, hey, Claude, can you just go ahead and install this repo into my GitHub folder? And then I'm going to give it the repo file. I think it's, oh yeah, there you go. Let me just make sure I put it in that GitHub folder. Cool. And it's going to go ahead and set up my Git project there. So I've got my folder set up, and I got my Git set up. If you've never installed Git, it might take you through some setup, but you might have to go through some guides setting up Git. But don't hesitate to reach out to me if any of these steps, if the instructions aren't clear. Happy to help. Okay, so I've got GitHub installed. The next step that's very important, my website. So there's a few different routes you can go to. I'm gonna say like same.dev is a really good one, where you can clone any website, and I could literally just type in hopper.com, clone this, and it'll start cloning it, right? Now they have, I think, a paid plan, so you'd probably have to go through their paid plan to get this set up. So for the sake of this, I'm going to skip this one. You could even ask Claude and just say, hey, can you give me the full clone instructions in a markdown file for this website? Hey, can you give me the full markdown instructions for hopper.com? I want to clone the styling. So that's option 2. Option 3, what I really like that came out just recently, is Stitch. And that's the tool I'm going to recommend for this tutorial. So I'm just going to say, hey, and maybe even like a week from now or 2 weeks from now, when this tutorial is released, there's already like 3 new tools that are better for this. So that's why I just want to leave this up to your imagination. But this is the tool I would recommend as of today, is Stitch. It's a new product from Google that just makes design really easy. So I'm going to say, hey, Stitch, can you give me the style guide for this website? Specifically, I want to copy over the blog all the styling and colors. Give me a markdown. Actually, I don't even need to say markdown. I'm just going to say, give me the full instructions to copy over the blog styling and setup, and each blog template page. So you know what? I'm going to go blog, and it's going to do its thing. Pretty incredible. You'll just see it'll pop up some designs, and I can go back and forth with it on the different design I want to do. But basically, this is the step where we just want to clone your current blog, right? Like we just need the style template that we can create in this new Next.js app, of all the styling and of all the content that's already there on that blog. And you can even just like tell it to copy the blog page content, and Cloud Code will take care of that. While this is running, we can go and check on Cloud Cowork. I'm going to go ahead and allow that. So this is a new world where you just have like 5 different agents running at the same time. Okay, let's check on this. Cool. So you see it's got my whole styling here. Okay, I think it's still working on the blog. I hope I didn't choose app. I might not have switched it to the web option. I might have chose app, but no big deal. I can just tell it to do a website version after. I see the layout, and I think it's already doing app. I think it's just because I didn't select the web option when I created this. Can you give me the blog templates and blog in web format? So, I'm just going to give it a follow-up question while it's generating that screen, just in case, to make sure. But you can see it's already got the styling. I mean, these are the colors. You might sometimes have to give it some tweaks or some specific guides if it's not getting the color right. Like, let me double check. I feel like that purple might be wrong. So I can just go and you can just inspect whatever element you want, and I can select it like this. So let me just double check that is correct. C3. Can we make sure the primary color is, so I don't know why I got that color wrong, but let me even just like give it a screenshot for reference. Because sometimes, I don't know, some of these tools, like, I mean, they're like almost there, but sometimes they're not quite. So let me just get a screenshot so it knows the colors that are being used. Follow all the coloring on this exact page for the brand style guideline. And if you see me, just saying things out loud instead of typing, that's because I use Whisperflow. Highly recommend. It's way faster than typing. You can just blab, and I got this little, portable mic. I can whisper when I'm in the office. Cool. So you can see it's got a whole style guide, blog article. It looks not bad. Like, it looks actually like better than my current blog. I think it did do this for the mobile view. So yeah, it looks good enough. I mean, you could even go back and forth. Like, I saw they got this voice mode.
Hey, what are we designing on the category landing page?
Yeah, can you just make sure that I got a web version of this blog? And then, you know what? Yeah, overall it looks good. I like the styling.
It looks like the current category landing screen is set to mobile. We can definitely create a dedicated web version for that.
Yeah, please do the dedicated web version. Cool. So I think that's really helpful if you're making something more custom. Okay, I just had to wait for that to load for a bit, and now I've got the desktop version. So you can see on my Stitch project, I've got it updated with the colors now. It's got my blog version for mobile. I'm generally happy with it. This is good enough for me. It's got the blogs desktop version. To me, this looks more beautiful than the old website. So you know what? I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna go click more. I'm gonna do export, do code to clipboard, copy, and let's go back to Cloud Cowork or Cloud Code. Again, this is the desktop application version. You can also do this in the console that I was showing earlier. I think if you're not comfortable with terminal or console, just download Cloud Cowork and you can do it in here. So I'm going to paste in those instructions, and at the top I'll say I'm building this as a Next.js app. It's going to be my new blog that's replacing postbeam.ai/blog. Can you please copy over the pages and make a plan to do this? Cool. That's basically it. Let me just make sure I tell it this is the project that we're going to put in the test-website. Okay, cool. Let me just make sure it's going to do it in that folder. Cool. And then I'm going to do it in plan mode. Plan mode is a really useful tool if you haven't used Cloud Code. It just basically, the less context you can give these things, the better they do a job at doing what you want them to build. So that's why I'm going to tell it to go in plan mode, and that way it's going to basically look at the things, make its own plan, ask any clarifying questions, and then it's going to go ahead and make a plan for itself, and then all you got to do is looks good and it'll take over the project. Another useful thing when it's in plan mode is you can see kind of like the project, the full plan that it makes. But it's got those designs, so it's gonna bake out that first plan. And in the meantime, I'll just get started on the last step while that cooks. So yeah, we already described the Cloud Code. Now we're gonna set up Vercel in the meantime. Cool. So I'm just gonna go to vercel.com or Vercel, depends how you pronounce it. If you never use Vercel again, you're gonna create an account when you go to the Vercel website. A project, I'll go ahead with GitHub. I'm going to select that project from my GitHub. I think I called it test website. I guess maybe I don't have it yet in there. Let me make sure it's connected. I think because I already had my GitHub account connected. Let me make sure it's connected again. Cool. Okay. Let me just make sure I get access to my GitHub. Okay, cool. I'm back here. Let me make sure I save this. I just had to re-authenticate my GitHub so that it had the new repo. I'll go ahead and click import. I'll make sure this is set to Next.js. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my Cloud Code. Cool, it looks like it's got a full plan cooked up. I'll go ahead and approve that. Cool. And the other thing I want to mention is if you've used Cursor, I highly recommend it. I'll create a you can look at the code and edit things a little easier if you want to get more specific. I do recommend this or VS Code. And you don't even have to look at the code with Cloud Code because it's gotten so good. But I do think it is a good way to monitor your whole project. So I got it open here. Okay, and I'm gonna see the files get created as that Cloud Code project is pumping through everything. Looks like I just gotta allow. Cool. Okay, so it's gonna go ahead and start creating things. Okay. 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 So I'll start seeing those files as they come in, but for now it's still loading. In the meantime, you know what? Let's just deploy this Vercel project. It's going to deploy with nothing. It's probably going to fail because there's nothing there. But this is basically what the GitHub account is going to use. It's going to use that GitHub repository to deploy going forward. Anytime new stuff gets pushed to GitHub, it's going to just push it directly live to your website. And of course, you can get more custom with your settings. I think that's maybe for a follow-up video. If you do go ahead with this, I think there are some really smart security controls you can put in to give your marketing person or whoever on the team that should have access to change the website. You can get them trained on GitHub and give them some limited access here. But that's probably for a follow-up video. Okay. So this might take a little while here, but it's just going to go through that full plan and start spinning up your Next.js custom coded website. The other thing I wanted to talk about is CMS. So I do think that's for another topic. I think for the sake of this, we're just getting a few pages out, and you don't really need a CMS, which is kind of like the interesting thing now because I mean, unless you really have, I think, a lot of marketing people on your team that are going to be uh, changing the website, uh, then that's where you might want a CMS. You want an easy place to manage images, to put your blogs in draft and then publish, especially if you have non-technical people that you don't even want on GitHub. So I think that is the case for looking into a CMS. For the sake of this example, that's why I'm just suggesting this if you're just going to be moving a few pages over or not a very big blog over, and you can move the whole website. That's one thing that there's definitely tools online that you'll find, like open source projects that offer a CMS. And sorry, when I say CMS, I mean like content management system, basically to be able to edit any blog pages easy. So imagine you have like WordPress is the famous one. It's like you got a whole list of every blog, and you can just edit things easily, and then you just edit from one template. In my opinion, now with Cloud Code, like the argument is kind of going away for CMS because you can just ask it to update everything for you. But I do think it is valuable still to have a CMS where you can manage all your images. Cool. So you can see here, it's got the project running. I could just go to Cloud Code and just say, hey, can you run this locally? And it's going to be like npm run build and then run dev. It looks like, yeah, this is failing for some reason. I think I just have the npm install. I could just literally ask Cloud Code. Like the way I'll normally run Cloud Code is I'll have a split terminal here, and I'll run Claude in one, and I have my terminal here. And it npm installs. I can do npm run build. You can just ask Claude to do this for you. To be honest, just tell Cloud Code, like, look, I'm having some kind of build error, so I'm just going to tell Cloud Code, hey, can you just check my build errors and make sure this project is running and run it locally? Just make sure it builds and then run it locally. Like basically anything you're doing on the terminal, you can just ask Claude to do it. And just to be clear, like this little terminal window here is the same as this. So I could just ask it again in this window, or the same as in this other separate terminal. Okay, I think this Cloud Code still is running, so maybe that's why my build was failing. So it's going to go through, it's going to try and build. And the other thing I'll say is, like, you can also, I'm running this on Sonnet just for the sake of the example, but if you do /model, you can change which model you're using. So if you want to use something more powerful, you would select Opus. And then if you want to just do something for a little cheaper, you would select Sonnet. So yeah, let's go run ahead. And I think the main Cloud Code we started a while ago is still working at changing the whole website. But let's see. It's going to run this build. I do normally like running it in my separate terminal here, because then you can just see the server logs, and instead of having Cloud Code like run your stuff in the background. But if you're having these build errors and these run errors, it is really easy just to say, Claude, can you check this out for me? But I do recommend probably just asking Claude, like, hey, what are the commands I can run? And then that way you can just run it on yourself on the left side here. So I think it's because this co-work session, or this Cloud Code session, is still running and still just updating the general project. So I think I just jumped the gun here, and it's not actually finished. I think it's on the last kind of category page here. So we're almost there. But the other thing that's nice about Cursor is that you can have this browser tab view. You can, of course, just go to localhost and open that in a Chrome window or whatever your browser that you use. But the nice thing here is they have these really nice developer tools where you can like inspect specifically the item, and then you can just, hey, can you change this? And as of today, they just launched this Composer 2 Fast, which is really fast, and supposedly the benchmark's better than Claude Code's best models and slightly worse than the Codex models. So I do highly recommend, if you're going to be changing the website a lot and you're going to be changing specific things, try Cursor out, at least on the free plan, and it's going to be really useful to make changes to your website, instead of just asking everything to Claude Code. Okay, so still churning this website out. In the meantime, you know what, we can run build here. That's always going to be the same command, npm run build. And I suggest like looking in and learning some of these small like Git, tooling commands. Like, I mean, you don't need to with Cloud Code, but it definitely does help if you have like a general understanding of how things are working. Because then you can at least launch things on Git, or you can say the commands are not waste your valuable Claude tokens on every tiny little thing. So it looks like it's near the end of the project. This is going to give me like a really good first draft. Like Claude, I know it's going to one-shot this. If you give it good instructions, it will always one-shot it. But there will likely be small things you're going to want to go around and test everything. Okay, nice. So looks like it's saying it's done here. I'd rather run my server logs so I can see my server logs on the left side here. It's going to launch. Oh, I think it's because my kill the other local host running. That's the other thing I don't really like about running in Claude, because then I can't see things. It like runs its own kind of sneaky terminal that's going on, and then I can't run it myself here on the left side where I can see my my own commands. What's it saying? 3002. Your next test server is already running. So I think it's already running. I don't know who's running it now. I think it might be my other Claude code that's running it. But you know what? Let me just say, hey, it looks like it's already running on localhost 3001. Can you just double check all this and kill all the current processes and just make sure my app builds and runs? So I'll just, just tell Claude in the terminal here to make sure this is going to run fine now. Okay. And hopefully we'll get to the first version of a working website here. And I mean, I could also ask cursor too on the left side here, which is nice because it's almost like having some different brains here. Sometimes if Cloud Code's not working, you run out of tokens, you can ask a different model. I find Codex is much better, at least as of today in March 2026. It's much better at managing big code bases. Okay. So I think it's saying that there's no build errors and it should be able to run fine. Oh, man, why is it not running? I think it's running its own on. Okay, I'll give it this. Maybe we should practice what we preach here. Let's see with Composer too fast. Okay, wait, let's give Cloud Code a chance here to fix what's broken. Okay. Something with global CSS. Okay, nice, we're there. Okay. And then now from here is really just like a matter of you going and, again, in cursor, you could select specifically the elements. You're likely going to have to give it a web page. I would suggest telling one of these agents to say, hey, go to, postbeam.ai or go to your website and copy all the images down and make sure they're corresponding. But if you want to change specific things, you can target them specifically. I can run things in Claude Code here. I can run things in cursor, my changes, but that's a beautiful thing. You now have got a blog that you've copied over from your main website from wherever it was before, and you can now vibe code. You can vibe code pages, you can vibe code blogs, just anything you can imagine now you can do way faster, way easier, as long as you can explain the problem and be patient with it. Of course, there's going to be some small tweaking where you're going to want to make sure these nav bars and these images match. That's kind of up to your vibe coding skills. The last step, I'm just going to push these live. I'll say, hey, initial project example Next.js web app. I'm going to go ahead and I'll publish that. You could also just ask Claude Code if you're not. Cool. Okay. Oh, this branch already exists. It's already committed. Let me just double check here. Oh, I don't even have this in my GitHub. You know what? I'll just tell it. Can you publish our changes and push them to our GitHub? So we should already have things connected. I don't know why it's not letting me publish that. I think it's because this is normally you would create a branch and then you would merge that branch in as a PR if you're working with other people. It's kind of like a little bit maybe out of the league for this tutorial, but yes, I'll just tell it to create a new repo. Or sorry, create a new branch for my repo. And you want to be careful with this when you're running Git commands. That's why it is better just to understand the Git commands. I honestly run, I still prefer using like my GitHub desktop so I can run Git and see the specific commands. Again, it's just like your version control. And the reason you want that is in case you're making changes to the website and you royally mess up, restart from the start and you'll be okay. Okay, so you know what? Let me. I think I did already clone this, so I don't know why it's saying I can't publish this branch. Okay, cool. You know what? I think I just accidentally renamed the branch that this is connected to. But you know what? We'll just pretend that's fine. It doesn't really matter. We can just connect this to the new branch I created. That's not really the point of the tutorial. So I'll just go to my settings and build and deployment. Let me make sure that this is connected to my other GitHub environment. If I can find it. Okay, I just had to wait for that to load for a bit. And now I've got the desktop version, so you can see on my Stitch project, I've got it updated with the colors now. It's got my blog version for mobile. I'm generally happy with it. This is good enough for me. It's got the blogs, desktop version. To me, this looks more beautiful than the old website. So you know what? I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna go click more. I'm gonna do export, do code to clipboard, copy, and let's go back to Cloud Cowork or Cloud Code. Again, this is the desktop application version. You can also do this in the console that I was showing earlier. I think if you're not comfortable with terminal or console, just download Cloud Cowork and you can do it in here. So I'm going to paste in those instructions, and at the top I'll say I'm building this as a Next.js app. It's going to be my new blog that's replacing postbeam.ai/blog. Can you please copy over the pages and make a plan to do this? Cool. That's basically it. Let me just make sure I tell it this is the project that we're going to put in the test-website. Okay, cool. Let me just make sure it's going to do it in that folder. Cool. And then I'm going to do it in plan mode. Plan mode is a really useful tool if you haven't used Cloud Code. It just basically, the less context you can give these things, the better they do a job at doing what you want them to build. So that's why I'm going to tell it to go in plan mode, and that way it's going to basically look at the things, make its own plan, ask any clarifying questions, and then it's going to go ahead and make a plan for itself, and then all you got to do is looks good and it'll take over the project. Another useful thing when it's in plan mode is you can see kind of like the project, the full plan that it makes. But it's got those designs, so it's going to bake out that first plan. And in the meantime, I'll just get started on the last step while that cooks. So yeah, we already described the Cloud Code. Now, we're going to set up Vercel in the meantime. Cool. So I'm just going to go to Vercel.com. or Vercel, depends how you pronounce it. If you never use Vercel again, you're going to create an account when you go to the Vercel website. A project, I'll go ahead with GitHub. I'm going to select that project from my GitHub. I think I called it test website. I guess maybe I don't have it yet in there. Let me make sure it's connected. I think because I already had my GitHub account connected. Let me make sure it's connected again. Cool. Okay. Let me just make sure I get access to my GitHub. Okay, cool. So I got it reconnected. I think I just had to recreate the different repo, but the point is you just want to create a repo and make sure that you can push those changes live from your local changes. So this is what the website is going to go live as on Vercel. And cool. You can see that now it was connected from Vercel to that GitHub project where I pushed my changes live. And you can go through any of the Vercel steps or a more specific guide to change your domain or add a custom domain. Right now, by default, it's just going to be on test website, dr2l Vercel app. And again, if you already have a domain that's pointing to Webflow, you want to go back to those, or Webflow or another website tool like Framer or WordPress, or even a custom website. You can manage that Cloudflare proxy to send half your traffic on website.com to your main website and website.com/blog, for example, to this website. But yeah, you can see this is live. Pretty great for like a one-shot website. It's the thing that is amazing about Cloud Code. I can just instantly say, hey, add this new blog idea, blah, blah, blah. This is the new blog. And, you can optimize your workflow for writing new blogs or new free tools, whatever it is that you're publishing to your website. So hope that wasn't too complicated. Let me know if you have other questions on the setup. I know I kind of breezed through some of the steps in case you haven't used Claude or Git. This might be a little bit of a tricky one, but don't hesitate to reach out.